Hi little skeletons, it is Disney Queen Skelly here. So I hope you guys recall, if you guys don't recall, I'll remind you. In an episode of Top 5, I was listing my top 5 favorite TV show characters, and I happened to mention some favorite episodes of mine within some of the shows, because there are some shows I watch where I don't have a favorite episode. I just enjoy the series overall, one being Futurama. But some of them I do have favorite episodes because they hit me in a different way than the rest of the episodes do. And we're actually going to start out with Family Guy, because Family Guy has 2 episodes that I really, really enjoy more than anything else that they've ever put out. And the episode I want to talk about today is Season 8, Episode 17, Brian and Stewie. I'm not going to talk about the last 10 minutes, for those of you who will watch the episode. I'm just going to talk about the first half hour, because it's an hour-long episode. I'm going to give you a brief rundown of what the episode is, and then I'm going to go into why it's one of my personal favorites. Anyway, so the episode is about Brian and Stewie. Brian and Stewie are in a bank vault. Brian's depositing some cash not depositing, but he's putting some cash away into a safety deposit box. And unfortunately, because some banks can be open on Saturdays, but they don't stay open till 5 p.m. like they do on weekdays. They'll probably stay open till about 1 or 2. And that's exactly what happened. At 2 p.m., the automatic doors kicked in the bank vault and locked them in. So now they're trapped in there until Monday, and they have to kind of just wait it out. There are some disgusting bits, like Brian cleaning up Stewie's fecal matter in his diaper and on his booty. There's also some don't try this at home things, like Brian lets Stewie try some liquor, and there's also some points where it gets a little deep. And this is a huge trigger warning for people who... This is just a huge trigger warning. Because I will be discussing something that Brian had said to Stewie in the episode that isn't unexpected of Brian if you've watched the show, but it's still really hard to hear. In the bank vault, when they're sitting back and they're talking, they're sober, because they've got drunk and, did drunk shenanigans, whatever. But one thing that Stewie asked is why there was a gun in his safety deposit box. And Brian had said that it was because he felt comfortable having there, knowing he had a way out of life. And that really scared Stewie, because in this entire show that I have playing in the background right now, if you've watched every episode like I have multiple times over, you'll notice that Brian and Stewie have a very interesting and very relatable bond. They are best friends. They're joined at the hip. They love each other. Sometimes they each do things to the other person that pisses them off. And that's just what happens in relationships. You're gonna piss each other off. And, the only way you can make it stronger is if you work together. But because Brian is so depressed, it's hard for him to really grasp the fact that there is someone in their world that needs him there. Even Stewie said it himself, that this decision of Brian's is very selfish. And he mentions how not only would he miss him, but obviously the family would miss him too. And everyone needs Brian there for one reason or another. And then the drink that they shared was going to be Brian's last drink, should he ever decide to. So in this vault, they're doing their whole shenanigans that they usually do. So they fight because Stewie has a jacket that he needs to return, and he wastes a phone call that could have saved them, but it just didn't happen. And then there's another bit where when they're drunk, Brian pierces Stewie's ear with a needle. It's a very interesting episode. While it still retains its Family Guy shtick, it tackles a lot of deep subjects that you wouldn't really expect from the show. And that's why it's one of my favorite episodes, because it's just, so there's always different episodes. Like there's the one where it's like a clue-based episode where they have to figure out who killed James Woods. There's ones like the Road 2 episodes. There's obviously episodes that are different from just the normal episodes that they release. But for some reason, this one hits different than the Road 2s, than the action-packed episodes that you can clearly tell they had a little bit more of a budget on. This one hits differently, for me, at least. I don't know about any of you, but for me, it hits differently. And I could pick apart this entire episode, going from what they discuss versus like what the jokes are and how it still retains its Family Guy ways. And I feel like I feel like I have touched on that. Like, I'm not going to go through it minute by minute, but I'm just telling you the reasons why this is like one of my favorite episodes. It's so different, yet so raw and so incredible. And the last like 10 minutes is them showing you like musical moments from Family Guy, which I always skip because to me it kind of just erases the tone of what the first like 30 minutes were. And not to take away from the last 10 minutes, it's entertaining. I've watched it before. One of my favorites is when I don't know what this is in reference to. You can let me know in the comments, but there's one where Peter is sitting in a boardroom when he takes over Peter Schmidt Industries, and he's like singing with instrumentals behind him. It's kind of interesting. I like it. But I love the episode because it's different. It really shows you the friendship between Stewie and Brian and how and why their dynamic works so well. Again, because there's episodes where Stewie's just had it with Brian, or Brian has just had it with Stewie. But in the end, you can see that they clearly love each other. Like there's an episode where Brian destroys Rupert in a blind rage because Stewie's giving Rupert way more attention than Brian. And after Brian destroys him, they take him up to a mountain, releases his ashes. Brian buys him a new Rupert, and it makes Stewie happy. And I actually always tear up when that episode happens. Brian and Stewie still takes the cake for me in terms of my favorite episode, because on top of that, there's no Peter, there's no Lois, there's no Meg, there's no Chris. It's just Brian and Stewie the whole episode. And I think that's what helps the narrative, because in the Road 2s you get the B story away from where they're headed. So having a main focus on the two of them is just incredible. And I really urge you guys to watch the episode if you can. Really soak it in for yourself as to why this one is so unique and so special. Because again, compared to any other Brian and Stewie adventure, it's incredibly different, and it's an incredibly different episode from anything they've ever done before and will probably ever do. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you've seen the Brian and Stewie episode, let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. As always, be respectful to one another's opinions because everyone's is going to be different. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, little skeletons. Please stay safe. I love you guys.